Here to talk about the rape of baby M is Dr. Shaheda Omar. You'd know her from the Teddy Bear Clinic, where she's the director. Thanks for your time tonight, Dr. Omar. It's always a pleasure having you in studio. In terms of this particular case, the National Prosecuting Authority has already said they don't have enough evidence to secure a conviction. What do you think is the strategy of the Gauteng department in pursuing the charges against the father, who they believe is the perpetrator of this rape?
Well, I think the fact that, there's always a high index of suspicion because it's usually someone that is closest to the child, and in this case, in the baby, 80 to 90% of cases, it's somebody that has a relationship or connection with the child that has been a victim of violence and sexual exploitation. So rather than saying that innocent until proven guilty, our stance is that under suspicion until proven guilty. So they need to be very rigorous in their investigations. One cannot dismiss or discount the fact that there isn't sufficient evidence because it's a 2-month-old baby and the mother has already been convicted. We realize that this requires more stringent efforts in investigation. So I think we cannot let the NPA so lightly off the hook. And DSD has certainly come to the party asking them to assist and support this process. So of course, I think that is the right way in pursuing this matter. But it's also of grave concern that we talked about baby Tsepang, we talked about baby Samantha in the early 2000s. And yet we are faced with the scourge. We are becoming a reactive society. We need to be more strategic and look at more proactive measures of ensuring that mothers will not find themselves in these kind of compromising situations.
Let's talk about the prevalence rate here, and this is of mothers who protect their partners in incidents of this nature.
And I think the prevalence rate is very high because if we just look at the fact that more than 74% of child deaths are children under the age of 5, but also that 15% of children are killed in the context of child abuse and neglect. And it's often mothers who are colluders and enablers, and the factors that contribute to these situations, that the mothers often are living in a domestic violence situation where there's excessive fear of the partner, fear of intimidation, coercion, threats, and even facing the possibility of death. Besides the economic dependence, there's sometimes even underlying pathology where there may be depression, anxieties, and personality disorders that enable or allow the mother to become a colluder. So we know that more than 50%, more than 60% of cases of domestic violence, there's a co-occurrence of child abuse.
To the extent that the mother has been charged for obviously aiding and abetting and defeating the ends of justice and getting life on that, is it surprising that the father was not in court with her facing the same charges, given the fact that they colluded and lied together about what had happened to the child? Why is the father only being charged after the fact when his involvement was there from the very beginning?
So it's not surprising because I find, or we can say that police are not so diligent when it comes to child homicides, and I think they need to be more rigorous. But it's disappointing because justice delayed is justice denied. This father should have been already in the system. There should have been more rigorous investigations and, as I said, a high index of suspicion. But if we just pursue this further, of course, we hope that the outcome will certainly be not in the best interest of this little baby only, but all other children. I think the MEC for DSD highlighted very clearly that he's out on large and he's out in the public domain and not, I think, certainly putting other children at risk.
What does it take to secure a conviction in this case, given already the fact that they haven't been able to gather enough evidence? So what would it take for him to actually be convicted?
Well, they would still have to do a thorough investigation. They would have to go back to the forensics. I think medical, legal, and the forensic departments, we know that they said there wasn't sufficient evidence, there wasn't sufficient semen as they identified. I think they're going to have to go back, look at more collateral sources of information, corroborating evidence, and also looking at the mother now. She's going to be incarcerated, but giving her an opportunity through counseling to empower her to actually come out and articulate and make a disclosure of what actually happened, to tell the real story.
In the absence of that?
Well, in the absence of that, I think they have to be more creative and work out processes to reach out and find out what really happened here.
Sure. So it's still going to be quite a journey to discovering the truth.
Indeed, I think it's not a quick fix solution here. It's a journey, as you've described, but it requires rigorous investigation.